Humans who love non-humans more than humans, Part 1 of 3. This presentation is about humans with extreme love for animals, nature, and robots. This presentation was created by Joseph Russell Tim Pugh Gyson. Extreme animal rights lovers and activists. Extreme animal rights activists who only care of animals either for show or genuine lack of understanding. They do not care what will happen to the humans they do harm while caring for animals. Animals do not love humans. Humans are just a food source to animals because animals recognize that humans give animals food. Try locking a human with its pet dog and see if it won't eat the dead human when it grows hungry and there's no food but the dead human. If human cannibals with more brains eat people, then what about a dumb dog? Do dogs always want to rub on you or touch you? Do humans think that it's playfulness? It just might be sexually attracted to you, especially when it is in heat. Think of all those disgusting dogs who hump the legs of any people uncontrollably when they are in heat. Do dogs love humans or they want to have sex with them? Do humans like to be licked by humans? I would like to be licked and touched by a human who is clean. Animal lovers like to be licked by animals who do not brush their teeth and also lick their fur and balls, if they are male. They use their tongue to check objects around them. They are checking which ones are possible food candidates because they have no human hands. Notice how dogs sniff on the area they are about to defecate on and how they sniff their shit after defecating. Human mothers always make their children wash hands after play or before eating to ensure cleanliness and that they avoid diseases. Do animal lovers order their dogs to wash their tongue and paws before touching them? At least humans wear gloves and shoes when in nature or in the garden. Do you know how many dangerous bacteria and other nasty organisms live on vegetation? The American Office of the CDC, Center for Disease Control, has records of people being infected by nasty diseases even only in their gardens through their pets. To many people around the world, especially in poor countries, pets are a flea or tick-infested, disease carrier, dirty creature that people serve by giving it food and grooming it. Does it cook food for us? Does it clean us? Does it make us lazy by fetching our slippers in their mouth, putting saliva in your slippers and whatever is in their mouth, or fetching your newspaper and again putting saliva in it? Not to mention they don't have hands and need to bite, so they likely scratch or damage what they fetch. What about a human as a pet? They can serve you better than animals. They can even talk to you for one. Animals, fishes, and insects drink water like us and also eat organic and plant life like us. Like us? Then they are our competitors. If we allow their populations to grow, will they eat our share of the food as well? And people wonder why there is always starvation in Africa. Look at the number of animals there. Africans are right to eat bushmeat, which is meat sourced from the bushes. Extreme animal rights activists condemn the Africans who eat bushmeat because they see all the nice and cute-looking animals which look so pitiful when butchered to be cooked. Do this extreme animal rights activists know that even the most docile animal will attack humans when provoked, threatened of its territory, or when they are just in heat? Do cute dolphins attack people? They attack people and torture and kill baby dolphins so they can improve their fish-catching ability. Do nice giraffes attack people? Yes, they do. They are also known to kill lions by stomping and kicking them violently. This is how dangerous giraffes can get. They are also known to break the neck of other giraffes when in a fight with each other. Are whales nice animals? Whales can become violent too. There are also whales who attack boats. Of course, in these times of poverty, which is more evident in poor people, eating is a main priority, especially if they have children to feed. Poor people are willing to try all sorts of food, especially the affordable ones that can give their children nutrition. Lots of poor people have been buying and stacking canned dog foods. These poor people think they are getting a good deal, especially with the dog food advertisements proudly boasting that they are nutritious and packed with vitamins. They also claimed that it keeps the hair of the dog shiny, and some even say that they are fit for human consumption. These advertisers must be telling the truth, considering the price of dog food, which is way more expensive than the canned sardines that people, especially the poor, subsists on. To many poor people, sardines are a luxury. Many poor people now subsists on instant noodles as a cheaper and more affordable food to sardines. Usually a poor family buys one pack of instant noodle and boils it together with their rice. This will be the meal for the entire family including the malnourished children. Even these poor families are lucky. They do not have to eat rotting food on garbage bins like the most desperate families do when they have nothing to eat. There could be enterprising business people who could soon open small restaurants that serve dog food. There are already restaurants that serve recycled garbage food anyway. Dog food has chunky meat, vegetables, and comes in different flavors for the discriminating dogs that very poor people will be willing to eat, especially when it comes to the nutrition of their children. These business people could make a killing serving these very poor but very many people. Poor people would see the value. They buy cheap food that has no nutritious value and has no vegetables and not even much meat in it. Dog food solves their need for nutritious food. Just look at the many street children in poor countries who sniff rugby and other very cheap drugs to get them by for days without food. Rugby and other cheap drugs are more cheaper than cheap food. That is why these people who may even hate these drugs use them. For them food is a luxury already that they can only afford sometimes. Think of these when you eat your minimum of 3 times a day meal. There are many pets who eat way better like kings as compared to many poor families. There are many very poor people in many countries, even developed ones, but as an example we will use the Philippines. As shown before, there are people who sniff rugby and other drugs as their replacement for food because they cannot afford food, even the cheapest ones. Pets will not sniff rugby or use other cheap drugs as a replacement for food. They will scavenge. Look at street animals. They will eat any food they can find in the streets, even rotting and dirty ones. Street people are no different. There would be poor scavengers who would knock from one restaurant establishment to another begging for leftovers no matter what state they are in and eat them. There are even very poor people who munch on just bones like what dogs do. There are families who knock on restaurants like McDonald's and KFC and beg for the leftover bones from their garbage bin. They then bring them home and boil the bones until they are soft enough to be munched. They already consider it a blessing when they find some particles of meat in the bones that they begged for. Not being sarcastic to these people, but they are even skinnier than some of the anorexic skinny models that grace the fashion runways. They could be the perfect Weight Watchers food because these poor people look like living skeletons and reminds us of death. These are just sarcastic descriptions of these starving people and are not meant to insult them. As explained before, there are people who eat food worse than dog food. Dog food sells to money-conscious people. A lot of street people, when they can afford it, eat food composed only of rice with food broth garnish. There is no meat or vegetable in this food. Dog food is better for them because it has real meat and is chunky, so at least they can chew real meat. Dog food has nutrients, vegetables, and flavorings. The kind of food even the poor people used to eat before. Now very poor families cannot even afford food. That there are mothers who give water instead of milk to their babies, and sometimes the water might not even be sanitary. Would people sell expired dog food to these very poor people? Apparently they do, and people buy them. A Channel 7 Philippine news documentary reported that very poor people even buy expired and rusting canned goods because they are sold very cheap. How expired and rusted? Some of the canned goods being sold have expired for approximately 3 years already. Canned goods are not the only ones being sold to very poor people. Expired and with mold breads are being sold, and also expired medicines. Africa is another place where expired food and medicines are being sold. The global market for these expired foods and medicines are growing as more and more very poor people are not able to afford fresh food. We now live in a world where there are pets that eat food meant only for humans, and there are humans that eat food meant only for pets, and worse. Of course, extreme animal rights activists will point out that they help the blind or old, good for security and companionship. Maybe in the olden days when people have no other options, but today these creatures, if not obsolete, will become obsolete soon. We should set them free so they can at least be in their natural habitats, and if need be hunt them down and eat them. Animal lovers or enslavers of animals. Animal lovers fight against other humans who badly treat animals captive to them. Extreme animal rights activists brand these humans as inhumane and barbaric, but are they any better? They say animals in their care are treated nicely, that they protect animals from whatever predator or sickness there is. An animal captured in the wild would go back to the wild if it is set free. It may always go back to human communities, but only to look for food and feed, but not to become a voluntary pet. A domesticated pet brought from the pet shop is happy with you and doesn't want to go. Raised for cash pets are separated from their families and then sold. Their natural character is broken down from mild to violent submission training. Food training with deprivation is also included. Once these pet trainers are finished with them, they are now your submissive pets. Are some of the cute pups waggling their tails for you to notice? Of course. You to them are the food giver master. Other pets are just neutral because maybe they are really broken down already or too hungry to move. Do people even ask pet store staffs why some pets look sick or weak? Are humans in some way perpetuating the enslavement of animals? There are even extreme animal rights activists that have even gone so far as to buy a ship and chase whaling ships, all financed by contributions from other animal-loving people. Are whales really nice animals but are much larger than us, that when they play they can hurt people? Just look at the numerous damages and even the sinking of ships that happen when whales play with humans or attack them and their ships. Extreme animal rights activists want to save one whale but kill several thousands of fishes in the process? Are these extreme animal rights lovers just lovers of whales and are not fish lovers? When a whale eats, how many fishes die? Even if some of these whales only eat plankton, how many fishes have to die because their plankton, which are their food, have been gobbled up by the whale? Sure, extreme animal rights activists say whales are docile and eat only plankton humans cannot see, but do these extreme animal rights activists follow the enormous fish schools that literally follow plankton growth from all over the seas so they can eat them? It means plankton are not bountiful but needs to be searched in the wide expanse of oceans. If one whale dies of hunger, one whale dies. If these schools of fishes die, then several thousands of fishes die. One whale will give birth to one whale cub. Several thousands of fishes will give birth to up to several more thousands of fishes because they give birth by multiple eggs. Humans will starve if they do not eat these small fishes, which are their staple diet. It is even forbidden in many countries to eat whales, so what are the use of whales exactly that we allow them to eat precious fishes meant only for human survival? Extreme animal rights activists claim that whales are getting extinct and need to be saved? What? If whale populations really grow, they will be like the dinosaurs of yesteryear who can eat everything, whether it be food or other smaller animals, and will not let the other smaller species thrive. Whales will gobble up all the food for the small fishes, including the small fishes themselves. Every time they eat, several thousands of fishes die, and one wonders whether extreme animal rights activists who favor only whales and not the other remaining species of fishes have a twisted view of the natural food chain. If extreme animal rights activists really want to save whales, then they should not just go after the now few whaling ships that seasonally still hunt whales. Extreme animal rights activists should go after sharks, killer whales, and the other animals that prey on whales all year round. Extreme animal rights activists love attacking commercial whaling ships, especially Japanese ones. There are, however, other countries and areas who kill more whales than any of the whaling vessels that ply the oceans. If they do not have double standards, then they should go after these usually ice-covered countries and areas that do not only kill whales but kill them primitively. They use spears and clubs to capture and bludgeon whales to death. Why do they do this when they can use more modern methods? Because they have to and want to. Because the whales they kill eat the fishes that are meant to be fished and eaten by the people of these countries and areas. It is also their tradition to kill whales and eat them. It would be interesting to see if these extreme animal rights activists will also go after these countries and areas, but also find a way for these people to eat without them killing whales. If ever these extreme animal rights activists do settle the issue of the whales with these countries and areas who hunt and eat whales, then they could go to the other countries and areas that also hunt and eat seals and gigantic sea lions. The people in these countries and areas hunt and eat these animals because they also eat the fishes and other animals meant for the people of these countries and areas. They do not only eat the fishes meant for the people, but they also occupy beaches and islands meant for humans or are already occupied by humans. What is worse is that they even attack people who happen to be in the areas they occupy. These are again mostly ice-covered countries and areas where meat is a staple food for both humans and animals. One of these areas will be Alaska. Sea lions and seals taking over human areas are, however, a growing problem in many countries. If these extreme animal rights activists do find a solution to the whales, sea lions and seal problems of these countries and areas, then they could proceed with the next problem of extreme animal rights activists, which is Africa. They can try to save the bush animals from being hunted and eaten by the Africans. Africans share their land with many animals who also drink water and eat plants as well as other animals. There are also animals in the bush that eat or kill Africans. There is always drought and famine in Africa, and animals are a contributor to these problems because, as stated before, animals also drink water and eat food meant for Africans. It will be again interesting to see how these extreme animal rights activists will stop the hunting and eating of bush animals while also preventing drought and famine to happen to African people. Extreme animal rights activists do not think animals can do no wrong, but if ideas are broken down to the smallest thought, then animals are the competitors of humans for water and food. Whatever water is drank and food eaten by an animal is water that is not drank and food not eaten by a human. To be continued in part 2 of 3.
Reminder: I may be presenting you correct, incorrect, or intentionally misleading information for my benefit only. I advise you to conduct your own study and double-check this presentation. Thank you for your time. I hope you will continue to watch my other presentations. See you again later.